Hello, and thank you so much for serving on this Sunday, September 8th, 2024. I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of what to expect this week when you're serving. So the first thing you're going to do is when you arrive, you're going to enter in through that door and you're going to walk through here to this room, which is our huddle room as well as our fourth and fifth grade small group room for the downstairs part for the Believe activity. So that is where you're going to start to meet as a team, pray together, receive your volunteer sticker, and then before you head out to your group. So if you are a fourth and fifth grade small group teacher, you are already where you need to be. If you're a second, third grade teacher, you're going to walk down the hall to where you see the sign where it says second, third grade, and it is this room. It is just on the other side of the accordion wall from the fourth and fifth graders. So this is going to be your classroom back in here. If you are kindergarten and first grade, you're going to come down. So if you are teaching kindergarten and first grade, you're going to go all the way down the hallway. This classroom on the left is both kindergarten and first grade small group, as well as where the elementary large group meets. So you're going to enter in through those doors, and I'm going to start by showing you what our kindergarten and first grade and second and third grade small groups are going to do, because for this time in the school year, at the beginning of the school year, they are going to have the exact same small group activities. So both groups, all three small groups, have a cart. They're labeled slightly different for our second and third grade and fourth and fifth grade groups because they have just an extra shelf. But in kindergarten and first grade, your top shelf is going to say lesson plans and take-home sheets, as well as your Belong activity. So your lesson plans are here. There's going to be 2 copies because there's 2 teachers, so you each have your own. And the take-home sheets are below that. So please make sure that these 2 sheets go home with students as they are exiting at the end of this morning. Then you're going to see here a description of their activities as well as a timeline. So the timelines are always on the board. You can see schedules here. It's also written out here. So it's in multiple places, as well as on your lesson plan. So as students arrive, they're going to be arriving until about 10 o'clock. You may have some stragglers, but most will be there by 10 o'clock. So until 10 o'clock, they can sit around and chat. If you have kindergarten and first grade, they're not going to be really able to self-regulate with that. So there are coloring sheets on their desks, which I'll show you quickly. So their coloring sheets are already on their desks, as well as their materials, markers, crayons. They do need to write their name on their paper. If they are a brand new kindergartner and do not know how to write their name yet, offer to write it for them. And then they're just going to leave that sheet at their seat, because after the large group activity and some of those other small group activities, they're going to come back to that seat to do some of the follow-up things at that seat. So they need to have their name on their paper. So their first activity is going to begin at 10 o'clock, and that's for all 3 small groups. So kindergarten, first grade, second and third grade, you will have these same activities. So from 10 to 10:10, you're going to do Belong. Every group has the same category of activities of Belong, and then after large group, coming back and doing Believe and Become. Those 3 are very important every week. Belong is what it sounds like. It's belonging to the group that you are with, feeling a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging. Believe is typically a follow-up activity to our memory verse. It's digging into our Bibles. It's really examining, what do we believe? What does the Bible say about what we believe? And then finally, Become is taking those beliefs and acting them out, doing an activity that really explores our real lives with what we believe. So for kindergarten, first grade, and second and third grade, your Belong activity from 10 to 10:10 is called Guess Who. If you flip over the page, it's right here, Guess Who. It has your supplies listed at the top. It also has it scripted for you. I do ask that you take the time to look through these electronically, or if you just want to pause the video and look at it here, that works too. You'll have the paper copy on Sunday, but if you want to feel prepared, you do want to take the time to look through this before Sunday. And any materials you need are going to be on the corresponding shelf. So in here, you see Belong is marked on your first shelf. You need a mystery object and a blindfold. So both groups, your mystery object is a fuzz ball. Your blindfold is here. So both groups, kindergarten first and second and third, have a blindfold with a fuzzy ball for your mystery object. So that's what you're going to do from 10 to 10:10. Following that, we're going to do large group activity, which I'll go to at the end for those of you that are curious about what that looks like, and also for those that are teaching it this week, which is actually me. So it'll just be kind of a walkthrough of what components are in large group. So after large group, when you come back to your group from 10:50 until 11, you're going to do your Believe activity. which this week is called Hope from Heaven. You can see it in the schedule on the front. Hope from Heaven has the supplies listed. And it is scripted. It walks you through each step. I do recommend that you familiarize yourself with this before you come in on Sunday. I already did your printouts. They're supposed to do it in 2 groups. Kindergarten first, you might need to modify and just do it whole group, depending on what you think the kids can handle. So there's a paper with a word bubble, and there are word cards with our memory verse that they need to sort into the order. They don't need to tape it down or glue it down or anything. They're just putting it in order. And so all your materials are on that cart, and you're going to see the same thing in your kindergarten, in your 2nd and 3rd grade classroom as well. Same materials, same activity. Then following that, so at 11 o'clock, you're going to move. So once you finish your Believe activity at 11 o'clock, you're going to shift into your Become activity, which will start from 11 to 11:10. And again, you're just going to flip the page. So you go from your Believe activity to your Become activity, which is here. Always good, even when. Your supplies are a printable page, paper bag, scissors, and a timer. The paper bag and the printables have already been cut out for you. It is here on the bottom. There are some cards in there. And so this is kind of looking at some real world situations about how God is good even when bad things happen. So when you do that, you're going to see the next activity is small group wrap up, which is from 11:10 to 11:15. Essentially, you are going through what you talked about today and how it applies to our world today. You're praying together, you're choosing a challenge for the upcoming week. And then the final activity is here in the middle, but there's an arrow pointing it down to the bottom, as well as the time listed. 11:15 to 11:25 is on the very back, our discipleship discussion. And this is, again, taking what we learned about this week and using it in real life, real world, current day situations. Looking at astrology, what does that mean for believers? And those types of questions that you can get into with the kids. I do recommend, if you're in kindergarten and 1st grade, that when you get to wrap up and discipleship discussion, that you let them go back to their tables and color while you are having those discussion questions. A lot of times they just need their hands to be busy while they're listening to those questions. So I'm going to walk you back to the 4th and 5th grade classroom now. Those activities are going to be exactly the same for 2nd and 3rd grade. So I don't need to walk through the activities because they're the same. I will show you the cart though so that you can see it. So our 2nd and 3rd graders are in this classroom, and here's your section. They should be sitting, looking up forward at the board. 2 chairs are set up for teachers. And here are your bins. You have the exact same activities, exact same materials, but they are set up in 4 bins because the cart is just designed differently. If you need extra Bibles, they're there. Also, 2nd and 3rd grade and 4th and 5th grade, when you leave your classroom to come to large group, the kids will need their Bibles. So have them bring their Bibles and also bring your teacher iPad so that if any students arrive while we're in large group, you can check them in on the attendance when they're there. So 4th and 5th grade, we're in your classroom now. Again, schedule is posted on the board. It's multiple times to help keep us on track with our timing. And you have the same cart here, but your activities are different. So 4th and 5th grade, these are your activities. You actually have the same activity this week for Belong, which is a mystery object, but this time it's in a paper bag instead of blindfolding you. So I did a fuzzy ball as well for you guys. That is in your Belong thing, a paper bag with a fuzzy ball in it. Your second activity, now this is where things are going to get a little different. If you're in 4th and 5th grade, you will be going upstairs after large group. You will not come back downstairs until the end of service, not at the beginning of communion, but at the very end of service. Parents are being told, do not pick up 4th and 5th graders until the very end when you have been dismissed from service. So you will have extra time upstairs to get through all of your activities. So when you go upstairs, you need to take the following things. There is a yellow bag that you can carry the things in. You want to toss the keys in. The keys are on top. You want to take your lesson plans. You want to take your Believe material, which is here, and your Belong materials, which this week there are no materials for it. So you're just going to have that one pack of cards and your yellow bag and your keys. We only have 2 volunteers going upstairs with 4th and 5th graders, and so you need to stay in the same classroom for coverage so that you have 2 adults in the same room. If you want to separate the boys on the one half of the room and the girls into the other half of the room with 1 adult with each group, that's totally fine, but you do need to stay in the same classroom. These materials here, you do not need to take those upstairs because there are duplicates of those materials already upstairs. So this belong is the same with mystery object. Believe is going to be upstairs, and you're going to need to do butcher paper. Actually, you know what? You will need to take the butcher paper with you upstairs. So that will need to go upstairs with you. Coloring supplies are already up there. And so what that activity is here. If you want to pause it and read it more closely about what you're going to be doing with that butcher paper is here. And then your next activity, your become, is what if scenes. And again, that printable page was already cut out for you. And again, these are struggles that you could come across in your real life. And then you have wrap-up questions, which is the same concept as our younger kids, praying, setting a challenge for the week. And then discipleship discussion is exactly the same for 4th and 5th grade as it is for those younger kids. So at this point, and you know what, actually 4th and 5th grade, I'm going to go ahead and move that butcher paper upstairs for you so that you don't have to worry about carrying that upstairs, because that is pretty big and I feel like that will get to be a problem trying to carry that upstairs. So if you are not teaching large group, or if you have no interest in what is going to be covered in large group, now is a good time to stop watching the video. But if you are teaching large group, or if you are interested in knowing what it looks like, feel free to keep watching. So large group teachers, teach from the stage, microphone turned on. There's a button on the back of the speaker. You just turn it on and it'll get your mic going. Lesson plans are always here. This week it's me and Nate. And so the way that it goes when you're teaching large group, when you have two teachers, one teacher handles the Bible teaching piece because that is the meatiest part of it. And then the other teacher handles the welcome, the find it in the Bible, the review, and the wrap up. One of the small group teachers is in charge of working the TV so that our large group teachers can focus on teaching the lesson instead of trying to get back and forth between slides and videos. And then the other three teachers that are or small group teachers that are in the room, they're in charge of behavior. So if a kiddo is distracting other kids around them, moving them to a space where they're not going to distract themselves and others. So the welcome activity is going to only be, they all have their timing on here. So the welcome activity should be 8 minutes total, including the video. Find it in the Bible should be 2 minutes. Bible teaching is 10, review is 8, and wrap up is 5. So walking you through it, the welcome, you're doing a fun activity, making coats of many colors with 2 groups of students and using some of those streamers to do that. And then you're going to set the expectation of the he, we, me questions that we're answering today. And then you're going to also introduce the video and watch it together. The video is about 4 or 5 minutes long. Then find it in the Bible. This part is more of a reminder for teachers. This is the part that you actually say out loud to students. However, we have this beautiful banner that goes over that. And one of our big concepts every week that we want to focus in on is, where does our story fit into God's big story? Is it about the people that are in the story, or is it about how they are helping to work out God's plan? And so reminding the kids, drawing their eyes up to that and reading that out loud to them each time as you move into the Find It in the Bible. And this is part of why we are training the kids to sit oldest kids with youngest kids. So if they have a tree on their sticker, that means they're 4th and 5th grade. If they have an acorn on their sticker, that means they're kindergarten, 1st grade. So the older kids should be opening the Bibles and showing the younger kids where today's Bible passages in Genesis 40. They're not going to actually read it. They're just locating where it is in the Bible. They're going to open it at a different point in the lesson. So then comes the next teacher, and it is time for the Bible teaching. So for this, there is an activity with a puzzle. You can follow the script, follow the plan for and you sending some kids out to look for the missing puzzle pieces. When they bring the puzzle pieces in, calling volunteers to glue them up. Keeping in mind that we need to stay on top of our time. So talking as kids are taping them up. So if you look up here, I've got puzzle pieces. They're all kind of towards the front of the room. There are 8 of them. And then the puzzle that they tape them onto is right here. So they're just going to tape those puzzle pieces up there. So the first group is just going to hand the puzzle pieces to the teacher, and then the teacher is going to call kids up to tape them up. So really the teacher who is not actively teaching, so one will be actively teaching while the other one is kind of collecting pieces and helping kids tape them up there. The tape is right here in your material bin. So they're going to go through this entire lesson and talk about our story for the week. And look at this. And then at the end, they're going to point it to Jesus. How did this story about Joseph point to Jesus? Following that, we're going to do a Bible review video, which is going to be on our TV. So they're going to watch a review of the story that they just heard. And then I altered how we're going to do this because I know we will be short on time because of the puzzle and because of making the coat with the streamers. So instead of going to corners of the room for answers, we're just going to do thumbs up, thumbs down for true, false for those. And then finally, the wrap up. You're going to go over the he, we, talk about the bright idea for this week, go over a monthly memory verse, watch the memory verse video. If you are a large group teacher and you know that you are running short on time, because the big thing is you have to be done by 10:48. It's a hard stop for that time to get kids back to their room. If you have an activity and it's taking longer than you had planned, you can cut out the review. You can even cut out the wrap up. I would still pray for them and maybe go over the memory verse together one time. You can even do it without the video. Now, the goal is to try and be able to fit all of these parts, but if you find that you are out of time and you need to get kids back to their groups, because the small group time is precious. We really want them connecting as a small group. And so that's a way to save time if you need to. But that is it for this week. I'm going to put it on the schedule one last time. So Memory Verse Sunday, this is a schedule, but we are not Memory Verse Sunday this week. So this is our normal schedule. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can find my phone number in Planning Center. Text me, call me, ask me in person when we get together on Sunday. I'm serving with you this Sunday. I'm excited to serve with you guys. Thank you guys so much for the connections that you are building with these kids and sharing Jesus with them. I cannot ever emphasize enough just how grateful we are and how important it is. So I thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.